Filming from GenCon 2016, I'm here with Sharang, who is one of the designers of Mad Science, a game that is being presented here at GenCon 2016 for the first time. And Sharang has agreed to tell us a little bit about his creation. As you can see, he's ready to talk about Mad Science. He's really in the right mood. He's dressed for the occasion.
These are actually my actual lab coat and lab goggles.
Okay.
So this is totally authentic.
Perfect.
So Mad Science Foundation is made by me, Sharang Biswas, and my co-designer, Max Seidman. We met in undergrad years ago, and after graduation, I was in grad school. Max pinged me one day and he's like, hey, Sharang, there's this game design contest, and we'd both done game design before. We'd taken classes and we'd done some stuff before. Max works for another game design company, so he's in the field a lot. And he said, I found this contest, let's submit. So we submitted to this contest. The contest was it was called the DFW Nerd Night Design Contest, a contest based in Texas. Neither of us live in Texas. So what they would do is they would send you a box full of random components, and in 1.5 months you had to make a game using only what's in the box, plus ink. You were not even allowed to use paper from outside the box.
Did you have to use every component?
No, you could use as much as you want, and so we did, and we came into the contest knowing that we wanted to make a game with this main mechanic, the I cut, you choose mechanic, which is where one person divides the resource into piles, but then everyone else gets to pick the piles before the person who divided it.
I have two daughters, they're 4 and 6.
Right?
I know very well how important that
like
mechanic
cookies
is.
Or like cake, exactly.
Yeah, you need that.
So that's all we knew, and then we had the box, we opened it up, we started designing. We also, both Max and I, are very interested in the idea of making the mechanics match the story and theme of the game. So we were thinking, well, what kind of situation would you actually do this kind of thing, dividing? And we both went to school together, we both know a little bit about academia, so we decided to make this Mad Science grant-giving game where the foundation is giving you grants and you're trying to divide the grants fairly or unfairly among all the scientists. We had a couple of other ideas, but this is the one that stuck, that was the most fun. So we submitted to the contest, then we won. We were one of a few winners, we were pleasantly surprised, and as one of the winners, they suggested, hey, you should pitch it to publishers. So Max came to GenCon last year and we did their designer-publisher speed dating event where you talk to many, many publishers, and Cryptozoic liked our game and picked it up, and we were really pleased because we think Cryptozoic is awesome. And then we had a month-ish of where Cryptozoic's in-house designers looked at the game and made a few suggestions. We were actually really happy. They actually made very few suggestions. This game is almost exactly what it was at the contest. The only changes we made were specific cards. We changed like 3 or 4 of them a little bit, and we changed names and things. And yeah, now it's published, and I'm really excited.
Well, congratulations. That's a success story, an inspirational story for all the aspiring designers out there.
It is the first time I have made a game where I am one of the lead designers. I have been contributor and writer and things in other games, but the first time I'm the lead designer. This is the first time Max made a game that is completely under his control with me, because he's been lead designer in other games, but there's a producer and they tell him what to do. So we're really proud. Also, we're really lucky that an awesome publisher like Cryptozoic wanted to work with us.
So how does the game work?
So let's go and check out the game. Thank you. So one thing I want to highlight before is the art of the game. So some of the art is here if you want to look at it. One thing we were really interested in, and we talked to Cryptozoic about this as we were pitching the game, is that it's a game about mad scientists. It's very easy to make a game about mad scientists where every mad scientist looks the same, i.e. an old white man.
Little bald, yeah.
With a little bald, maybe some beard, right? And so we're like, you know what? there have been lots of different scientists in the world who are not old white men. So we really wanted to reflect that because we're really big proponents of like showing diversity in games. So we had a great discussion with Cryptozoic saying, hey, with the art, can you try and make sure there is diversity? And they said, sure. So we discussed some ideas with them. They were very receptive, and the artist came up with these awesome things. For example, this one is really nice. She is a really girly girl who likes pink things and fairies, but she's also a badass mad scientist who built a bazooka.
Nice.
I love that. We have a punky woman with like a mohawk and pink hair who is also a mad scientist. And then I love this one, which is a gender neutral character, which is like a bionic brain. It can be any gender you want or have no gender. So we love the like diversity they're bringing in. We also like that I've been speaking to some of the Cryptozoic representatives, and they're trying to make that a policy in all their games to do the diversity.
That is nice. I think we need a lot more of that in games.
So I'm pleased. Yeah, I'm pleased that Cryptozoic is like willing to do that.
I'm so very happy when I see like a fantasy game where the women are not only the rangers
right,
or
and they're
the
not
healers.
wearing chainmail bikini.
Oh, that's the worst. But
right?
even in the good ones, women are healers or rangers, and then the guys are.
I'm strong. I'm like, no, that's not always the case.
No, yeah,
like, have you ever watched any women's sports, for example?
I do taekwondo. One of my teachers is a woman, and she could take down many fantasy monsters.
So like we're really glad that's that. So that's a side note.
But we digress.
So the way the game works, so each player plays a mad scientist fighting for grants from the Mad Science Foundation. Now the grants, mad scientists don't use money to make their inventions. They use kryptonium, lasers, dark matter,
makes sense,
and most importantly, sharks.
Yes.
Right? So you use these inventions, you need these resources, you try and collect them, and using those resources, you build various inventions. And the inventions do lots of different things. Mainly, they give you infamy. And that is how you win the game. At the end of the game, whichever mad scientist has the most infamy wins. Okay? Now the way you get the resources is pretty unique. Very few other games use this mechanic. So what happens is, I'm gonna say we're playing a 2-player game, me and you. One person controls the crooked director. This is like the first player token. I bribe her, notice her bribe. And what I do is I'm playing a 2-player game. So from the resources deck, which is here, I will draw 3 cards. It's always the number of players plus 1. So I draw 1, 2, and 3. Now, at the start of the game, we also are assigned a starting invention, which I will fetch, called a headquarters. And at the start of the game, we're each assigned a headquarter. Now, one thing to note in this game is that it's about grants, right? And when you apply for a grant, you have to be very transparent about your information. So most of the information in the game is public knowledge. Very little is hidden from other players. So, I drew these cards, my resources. I also, every round, draw 1 invention. That is my job as the director to divide this into 2 piles, 1 for each of us. Okay? The catch is, if I divide into 2 piles, my opponent, my other player, if there are more of them, my other players get to pick the piles first. So I have to be careful. If I make piles too unfair, where 1 pile is really good and 1 pile is really bad, everyone else will get them before I do. So the trick in this game is making piles, trying to get what you want, while seducing the opponents away from that pile by giving them what they want in those piles. But then you have to be careful. If you give them too much of what they want, they will get more points than you. So you have to be really careful. For example, my card, I need 2 dark matter. So I could put a dark matter, and I could maybe put a kryptonium, but I'm like, no, you need a kryptonium. If I do that, you'll take this pile. So maybe I'll put the kryptonium separately, and then I'll put these 2 as 1 pile. And now you'll get first pick. Which pile would you like to take?
So I'm trying to lure you into not getting what I want.
Yeah. So you might say you want more kryptonium because your invention requires kryptonium to build. So you might take this pile, or you might be like, hey, I'm actually gonna screw you, and you're gonna take this pile, because ultimately this will be useful someday, especially since this resource is used to make the invention you just got, right? And so I'd be like, oh, fine, I'll take this. Okay, that was the resource awarding phase. With more players, the thought process becomes more complicated because you have to think, what does he want? And I'm last out of 4, so like I have to make 4 piles, so it becomes more interesting that way. It's a 2 to 4 player game. Then comes the experimentation phase. On my turn, I'm the director, so I start. Can I build my invention? I cannot. So skip. Move on to you. Can you build your invention? Let us say that you also had this resource.
Hooray!
Okay? So in this case, yes, you can build this invention. So you would spend these 2, discard that, and turn that face up. Okay? A note that is only a 4-player card, but in the demo I thought I'd show you all the different cards. Now that you have this resource, you can use it whenever you want. The most important thing about the game is to use a card, you must, and this is essential, press the button.
Oh, okay.
Press the button and maybe make a noise relevant. So this is an unstable clone, so maybe I press the button and I make the noise, which is a squelch of a clone.
That's well-known clone
noise.
That's how clones call each other, yeah.
This invention is special in that you would discard it after using it. So you discard it and then you would get some points. So you are orange and you would get 2 points. Most inventions you keep. So once you've made this invention, for example, you keep it, and every round you can press the button again, and if you have what it takes, you can use it again. So that's the main thing. The other unique things are, as the game progresses, so at the start we divide resources and inventions. As the game progresses, you start adding minions as well to divide. For example, the sassy AI minion. Let's say that as the game progresses, when you draw resources, it will tell you, now put the sassy AI into play. In that case, I now can divide the sassy AI just like everyone else. And when you get a minion, something happens for you that round. And then at the end of the round, the minion goes back into the pile to divide again.
So the minion performs an action.
The minion does something special. So the sassy AI is so sassy that when you get her, you immediately just gain 2 infamy. She's so sassy, you become infamous. The truckload of cash counts the wild card resource. You can use the truckload of cash as though it were any other resource. However, again, at the end of the round, you have to put him back in. So if you didn't use him, I'm sorry. The spy can be used on an opponent's invention to stop it from being used. And most interestingly, the director herself. So normally, when you play the game, the director gets passed clockwise to, the first player is me, then it's you, then it's you, then it's you, and the 2 players, us, back and forth. Once the director enters play, that is no longer the case. The first player is whoever takes the director from their pile. And so I can end up being the director 4 times in a row. That could be good if I want that, but it's probably bad because the person next to me gets first pick and I get last pick. To balance that, there are lots of inventions that give you a lot of bonuses for being the director. Let's balance that. And then finally, there's something in the game called quirks, which is the art I showed you at the start. So think of it this way. When you apply for a grant, all your information has to be public. You have to tell your grant, hey, I want to build a floating orbital lab and I need these resources. The only secret thing are your personality quirks. So these are quirks, and these are what they are. Because you are never going to tell your grant giver that, by the way, I'm a megalomaniac.
I see.
You don't want to tell your grant giver, by the way, I'm a procrastinator. This is secret. So you get this the start of the game, and at the end, you can look at it, no one else can look at it, and they, at the end of the game, provide you with a bonus to your points based on certain conditions. For example, the Hoarder gives you bonus infamy for every extra resource you have left. The Saboteur gives you bonus infamy if you stopped your opponent from building inventions.
So that's secret victory conditions or scoring conditions.
Right at the end. Now that is not the main way to get points. You will get most of your points through your inventions. However, it can boost you and can make a small difference to make sure you win. And that's there to create more uncertainty because we don't want a game where you can tell from the start who's going to win. Right? That's boring. So these things can tip the scales. Having said that, I have found that every game I've played has been very close. I've rarely played a game where one put at 20 and the other put at like 30. It's usually, I'm at 25, you're at 30, I'm at 31, you're at 33. Which is something we like, which shows that everyone in the game is contributing equally and having fun and playing.
Excellent.
So that's my game. I'm here at GenCon 2016. I'm demoing the game. I'm also signing copies of the game if you drop by. I'm happy to be here.
And for the common mortals that will not make it to GenCon this year, where can they find the game?
So this is, the game is available in basically all gaming stores. It is also available on Amazon for purchase, so feel free to do that. It's on Board Game Geek as well, so feel free to go to it, check it out, see what people think, and of course watch this review as you have been doing so.
Excellent.
And learn about other games.
And in the future, I count on playing the game, and then I will also make my own video review of this.
Awesome.
This is all for today about Math Science Foundation. Thank you for taking the time to tell us about your game.
Thank you for talking to me about it. I love talking about my own work.